Good morning. This is Mary Ann from Transforming Hearts PLLC, and I'm here today with Karin. And our topic for today is going to be from stress to strength. So we're going to wait a few moments for people to come in. We are live on Facebook and on Instagram today. And I'm also going to check the microphone to see if that's working. Because I have a new setup, so I want to just make sure everything is good. And if anybody happens to be in the audience right now, and if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up or just let me know. All right? How you doing today, Karin?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good. Today we have such a great lineup in this having this discussion. So I'm excited for everybody to be here today. Perfect. We're good.
Okay, great.
Okay, so let me start off with an introduction, right? Karin is a rehabilitative exercise physiologist with expertise in addressing dysfunctional breathing and movement imbalances, with the focus on movement discrepancies associated with the jaw and cervical spine. Karin has over 20 years in health and wellness. Her journey from martial arts, training to anatomy studies led her to understand the critical link proper breathing mechanics have on muscular, there's a lot of big words here, musculoskeletal health, stress reduction, and emotional well-being. Karin has personally experienced the impact of correcting pain-producing movement discrepancies. Her mission is to guide others in integrating functional breathing and movement strategies into their daily lives and activities so they can feel more comfortable in their bodies again. Wow. Pretty impressive stuff here, Karin.
Oh, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about, so you made a switch from martial arts, that's interesting, into this. So what made you make the switch over?
Well, martial arts training was really important to me. That was drove a lot of why I wanted to learn a lot more, because I was having, it wasn't the martial arts so much, but I was having, I actually was training for a strength and conditioning certification, and I was training my martial arts at the same time, and I was getting a lot of neck pain from it. So, I was talking to different people about it, and, as they were looking at it, they were saying, oh, everything seems like it's fine, but I still had the nagging neck pain. And, I had gone to the doctor because someone had said, maybe you really should have it looked at. You could have, problem with your cervical spine, things like that. So the advice I got was just stop doing the activity. Right? So I said to myself, I'm not buying that, because I'm clearly doing something wrong.
Right.
There's no reason why my neck should be killing me. I'm trying to do something healthy for myself and, exercise and, build some strength, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. So I ended up getting involved with someone from New York, who her name is actually Dr. Kathy Dooley. And as the years progressed, I started working with her, and she became a mentor of mine. And she really kind of helped me figure out what was wrong. And it was, starting to look at these movement patterns that weren't really serving me. Really. They were dysfunctional patterns, where I had, for me specifically, my neck was doing a lot of the work. So my neck was kind of kicking in for my abdominal muscles. I had a little bit of a sleepy abdominal muscle. So my neck was there to kind of help me out type of thing, which, is kind of common for a lot of people, not so much maybe the neck. Somebody could have their back, it just really depends on the person. So that was kind of why I really started getting into it. And then, just really trying to understand, because I did teach martial arts and, I just loved it so much myself that I wanted to be, the best that I could be at it. So I really started, doing the deep dive with the anatomy, kind of putting it into my own body, retraining patterns. And I found it really, really helpful. I feel like I'm moving the best that I've ever moved when I was a lot younger. And, just some days you have it, some days you don't, type of thing. But at least I have a strategy in place, and that's really what I want to do for people that I work with. I want them to feel like, hey, someday you might get thrown a bad day. Right. Do you have a strategy in place to kind of help yourself with it? Whether it be a breathing strategy, if you're stressed, or a movement strategy. And then, of course, the breathing would get paired with movement as well, because it's such a huge component.
Yeah, so I know we've had conversations about breathing. Last week, you actually, we had a conversation about myself, because I'm someone who suffers from allergies. My nose is always congested. I have a DBA septum that they've tried to surgically fix, and I feel like they made it worse. So there's all sorts of breathing issues that I go through, and a lot of my clients are just like, "Oh, your allergies today?" I'm like, "Yeah." and mine, again, because of the way my nose is structured, it's it's ongoing, and in the springtime, summertime, it just gets worse. So you and I met last week, and let me tell you, I wasn't sure. I think a lot of people, and we've had this conversation even prior to that, like a lot of people tend to not be sure really how important like the way you breathe really kind of functions, and how you do that. And again, like the word you use is the mechanics of it, right? And we don't want to get too in depth with it, but let's talk about like my experience for a second. Maybe that can help the audience a little bit by providing an example. So again, I suffer from allergies, constantly congested, and she had me do a couple of different techniques to help clear my nasal airways, right? So tell us a little bit about like even the process that you took me through, maybe to help the audience understand like why some of those things might actually work.
Yes. Well, here's the thing too, is we have a couple different sinuses too. So we're not always like, just let's take it back for when you blow your nose. Like when most people blow their nose, they blow their nose like straight on, right? You don't ever think about maybe tilting your head down. I mean, some people may, or you don't think about
I never think about tilting my head down at all.
No, I never did either. I used to, just to tell you this really quick too, like when I was a kid, my mother used to be like trying to tell me to blow. I could never blow my nose as a kid. I used to have such a hard time, but I'd always blow like straight on. And as I started really learning this stuff, I started realizing, wow, I didn't have a problem with this sinus. I had a problem with the sinuses that were more here.
Right.
And they have a totally different draining pattern.
Right.
So it's like, that's where I like to come in and ask the person questions like, hey, like through the little screening assessment that you and I did, I just kind of ask you, hey, where do you feel more congested? More up through here, and this side. And through the screening, the assessment that you and I did, I was able to determine what sinus was more clogged for you.
Right.
And then based off of that, I could give you like a breathing and movements, like a circulation type of a strategy to do, to kind of help you like loosen it up and clear it up and things like that. And then we were also able to get into your neck.
Yeah, too, I have this neck. I carry stress in my neck. And again, like, so we're talking about things that are outside of talk therapy for May Mental Health Awareness Month, and people may or may not recognize why something like this might be important. But number one, we carry stress in our bodies. We want to be able to identify, where do I carry that weight or that stress in my body, right? People who suffer from anxiety or maybe depression as well. What is it maybe more appropriate breathing technique that you might be able to utilize in order to kind of help you? I do a lot of mindfulness. What breathing techniques might be more important for that? So when Karin and I had a session for me, like not only did we focus on, my congestion, but also my neck, because I know I carry a lot of stress here. I'm constantly like going like this, or, just trying to exercise it out. And last week, she taught me some things that I'm kind of overstretching it in a sense, right? And when she taught me these things, I was like, it felt a lot lighter. So I was like really surprised by how light that it felt afterwards.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm so happy that you given me the opportunity to show you that and talk to you about that, because I feel like it's such a huge benefit for people, because like as they're working through talking with you, and maybe some people are even processing some grief and some real heavy emotions, and breathing is so important, because it's like another tool that you can add to your toolbox. And we all just kind of figure, I'm breathing, otherwise I might be dead if I wasn't. And a lot of times a lot of people laugh about that. They're like, oh, my breathing's fine. But when you really just like stop and just like sit with yourself for a second, and kind of check in, hey, am I breathing through my nose? Especially if I'm just relaxing, I can see if you're exercising, things might change a little bit, how you might exhale. You always want to inhale through your nose, because you're cleaning the air and you're humidifying it, and even for your immune system. So when you're upset or you're going through grief and things, your immune system could be compromised just from that. So if you can kind of get your breathing okay, a little bit more optimized, you're giving yourself like an extra like protection. So that's kind of like another way to look at it. And then this is just talking about like right through here,
Right.
but then we have the diaphragm, which is our primary muscle of taking an inhale. So like my next question to people too is hey, how do you feel on the sides? Do you feel restricted? Type of thing. So it's so important when you're trying to manage yourself,
Right.
manage your emotions, and you're going through anxiety, depression, or you maybe have lost a loved one, or you have a great relationship at work or home or whatever it may be. Like, give your body the support, from a mechanical standpoint too. Like, I feel like sometimes we don't even think of that. Or if we do think of exercise, we're like, I don't really have time to exercise.
Right.
Which I get that 100%. But you can pencil in 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Right. And first and foremost, make sure that you can get a good breath in. Are you breathing through your nose? Yeah. Are you using your diaphragm, or are you raising your shoulders when you breathe in? Like things like that. Just some things to be mindful about that. You really can make some big changes. Yeah. And through that, you can notice like a lot of the body tightness might start to die down. You might not feel so tight in your neck. You might not feel so stiff in your back, things like that. So I just feel like it's really helpful. Yeah. For people. It's something simple they can do.
Right. So can we go over just like one maybe breathing technique or a way that you think might be helpful for the audience?
Sure. I think keeping like, especially if you're just going to do like a relaxed breathing, like say you're at your desk at work, where you're talking on the phone. Obviously if you're talking on the phone, but you're at your desk at work and you're just working, or even if you're sitting quietly, you just want to keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth, slightly behind your front teeth. You don't want your tongue to be pushing into your teeth. And like if you were to have like a tic tac on the roof of your mouth, and you just didn't want it to fall off, so you just kind of like lightly have your tongue pressed up on the roof. And you want to just keep your mouth closed. And I know this sounds funny, but you definitely want to keep your mouth closed.
Why is that so important? You often talk about breathing in and out through your nose versus out your mouth. Why is that so important?
Well, the mouth it doesn't have the filtration system like the nose does. And it doesn't warm the air that coming in, because you think about it, like when we're taking air in, we want to get it to our lungs. So the lungs are a very delicate organ. And we obviously want our lungs to be clean too. Right. So the mouth doesn't have that good of a purifying system. It's not able to humidify, purify the air and warm it. Okay. So now you've got colder air coming into the lungs. Dirty air is a little bit more dirtier. And it's like you have such a big, big
passageway.
Passageway. That's over. Perfect. So, so that's actually, when you have cold air coming into the lungs, that's actually constricting things. So you're getting the irony in the situation is that people are actually getting less air to some extent, even though you have this wide, tube of your mouth. Right. You're not. It's not efficient. Right. You're not delivering the oxygen to the cells properly and things like that. And the nasal breathing does, because it's warming the air, it's cleaning it, it's humidifying it. We have hairs in our nose. So all of that, like, it traps. It's trapping more bacteria and viruses. So you actually, this is a huge thing, because, this is big for people, because you can really help yourself. Like this could be you might not, like, especially if someone's prone to like respiratory viruses, or during the year, people that are constantly getting sick all the time and they don't understand it. It's like, take a look at your breathing too. It's just something to think about. I'm not saying that, that breathing is going to solve everything. Right. But it's definitely going to help you. It's not going to hurt you.
Yeah. All right. So tongue on the roof of your mouth.
Yep.
Mouth closed.
Yep. teeth apart.
Teeth apart.
So you don't want to clench.
Okay, no clenching.
Okay, no clenching. And then just keep your, your lips just kind of, lips together, teeth apart, and then your tongue on the roof. And you're just going to inhale and exhale in and out through your nose. Now, if you're trying to relax, like say, like, how you do mindfulness or meditation, and you might tell a client, hey, go in another room somewhere. And this is sometimes I suggest this too, sometimes at night, especially if someone has trouble sleeping, is go in a separate room and then just kind of lay down and kind of quiet your mind. And you can even set a timer, because I do sometimes myself. I set a timer, and you want to try to make your exhale double your inhale. And a good starting point would be like 4-second inhales and 8-second exhales. Now, if that's too difficult, you can go to 3 6s. So whatever you can do, but try to make your exhale double your inhale, and then just kind of practice, the breathing in through the nose and then breathing out through the nose. So what'll happen is the more you practice that, you're going to kind of put your body on autopilot. So when you maybe do have a stressful situation, you'll know to do that. It's like, let me just take a minute and just breathe. And it's very helpful because, I've talked to people about this type of stuff, and they've actually done it, and they've told me, they're like, wow, I really didn't realize that has been so helpful. Like, just even if you just take, a couple breaks throughout your day, like you just did 30 seconds to 60-second, movement breaks throughout the day,
and which it can be very helpful. I try to tell my clients, like, taking those breaks is also, number one, is part of self-care, but sometimes it helps you just gather your thoughts in yourself. And that's like a mindful moment, just having a mindful moment, a mindful break. And what all you're doing is breathing. Nothing else is being asked. Just do your breathing. And you might notice, like, even a difference in you taking that moment to take a break, because then your day doesn't feel like, I gotta do this. You're just like, let me calm myself down. Let me relax myself. And all I'm doing during that time is breathing.
No, exactly. And another thing too, I wanted to mention too, that I was thinking about is, we have like a lot of our organs, like our liver, and you got the liver, you got the kidneys, things like that, spleen, pancreas, whatever. They all, every time you're breathing in, you're breathing out, it's like you're giving your organs, your vital organs support as well, and I'm sure, not to go off the tangent too much, but I'm sure some people have heard of the vagus nerve, with the heartbeat, how it manages the heart rate and things like that, and digestion. It's very important for digestion. So some people might even realize that their digestion might even be affected when they're stressed out, because of a connection even with the neck and the diaphragm and the vagus nerve, and all of that gives feedback back and forth. So just by simply, breathing, or maybe you can just take 5 minutes, at night, or if you're just breathe breaks throughout the day, you can help your digestion. And plus it gives feedback back to the brain, and can also just kind of keep you calm and maybe more level-headed, because sometimes when we're stressed out, and we've all been there, I know I have been, if you're really upset, or you're stressed out, or you're angry and things like that, we have a tendency to tighten up, and we're more vulnerable, like where we hold our pressure, like me, like my neck, or like even like my jaw, like sometimes I've noticed that happen to me before, like if I've gotten like super like upset about something, like I'll feel like all of this, and like I've even caught myself like doing that before. So it's just taking a break sometimes is not, it's not a bad thing. You don't realize it. It's like you don't know what you don't know. Type of thing. So.
Yeah. So, if there's anybody in the audience, definitely, if you have a question, just type it in, and we'll see if we can answer it before the segment is done and over with. Any suggestions regarding even like the diaphragm?
Yeah, what I really like people to kind of be mindful of is that, the breath is going to come from the sides of the ribs. So you really want to make sure when you breathe in that your ribs kind of go out, and then when you exhale, they kind of come back in. So that's important too. You don't want to have to be doing these like huge big belly breaths, because like I know that's like a big thing that people will say. They're like, oh, big belly breath, belly breath. Like, you don't want to be like overdoing that and pushing that out, because you could leave yourself susceptible to like getting some, like a hernia in the front and things like that.
Okay.
Because what'll happen is if you're getting good expansion from the sides of your ribs when you
Mhm.
breathe in, your belly will naturally kind of open. Like it'll kind of go.
So you should be able to feel it. So if I took a breath in,
Yep.
I should be able to feel it on the sides.
Yep.
My chichos are this, so I don't know what I'm feeling, but but okay, let me see. So how can I feel if they are expanding?
Well, what'll happen is your sides will just go out.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll go out a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be so exaggerated either.
No, but you want to make sure that you're not like tight and stiff like in through here, because if you are, it could hinder your being able to get a good quality breath in.
Right.
And then from a movement perspective, like the diaphragm is like the chief type of thing, and if that's kind of off a little bit, it's going to throw off some muscles on the sides of you. It can throw off some muscles on your back, that are real stable, that are stabilizing muscles that kind of have to fire first before you move your leg or your arm and things like that. So, that's why it's so important. That's why I always I'm always like about people to breathe. Like I always like really care about how you're breathing. Like I care about what's happening here, and then I kind of care about this. Like, I'm really concerned about your airway and stuff like that, because I know that if that's, not efficiently working like it's supposed to, it's just going to make everything more difficult, and it does, and it affects other things, not just, your ability, to move well, your digestion could be thrown off, your swallowing can be thrown off, like things like that. So there's a lot of things that they don't seem like they're related sometimes, but when you start talking to people, like, you can kind of make a connection. Yeah. And just another thing to be mindful of too is like, and I know I've said this before, I'm going to really say it again because I really want everybody to really take this point home, especially, is to make sure that you inhale through your nose. Like all inhales should be through your nose. So the exhale, your mouth doesn't always have to be through the you don't have to always exhale through your nose, but you can exhale through your mouth too, especially like if you're doing like heavy like workouts and stuff like that, things like that. But all inhales should be through the nose. Okay, absolutely. Like there's
all inhales through the nose. Okay, is there any last messages that you want to send out to people?
Just take a break. Try to schedule yourself to take a 30 to 60 second break just to start, but pencil it in through the day, and don't feel that you have to do like 60 minutes of an activity or even 30 minutes. Just the fact that something as simple as just getting up and down from your chair. Like I'm sure there's a lot of people that are working from home, or things like that, or even if you're in the office, just stand up and down from your chair, 5 times or something in a row. I used to do that when I used to be at work. I used to stand up and down from my chair, and just the simple act of doing that, or go to a wall and just kind of like put your hands on a wall and like push yourself away from the wall, like if you're going to do a push-up, because you're just kind, you're moving yourself like that way, and it's not really a big commitment, and I think a lot of people would do that. I think they would take 5 minutes, periodically through their day.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so easy. And I know a lot of times that we say, oh, I don't have the time, but really we do. It's just, there's a difference between the time and prioritizing. And, there's times when I always use social media as an example, because people are always and constantly on the phone. And if you stop scrolling for 5 minutes, that's 5 minutes that you could have done something like that. Or 5 minutes you could have took, a breath, or just mindfulness minute, right? So at the end of the day, like, it's really about prioritization and knowing the difference that something that seems so simple can really make and add to your life, right? It's about being from stress to strength, and it's about strengthening those parts of even your breathing or even the other parts of you that constantly feel strained all the time, because you're on the go. So take a few moments out, breathe through your nose, and just just make sure you're more conscious of it. Be intentional about what you're doing when it comes to your breathing.
No, that's great. That's great advice. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was coming from you,
love it.
so I
I
just
love it.
emphasize
No,
on
it's great.
it. So, where can people reach you?
They could reach they could look at my website if they like. It's
I'll put in the comments.
yes, it's revoltandmove.com. It's my website. And I'll be happy to. Just want me to give my number? I have no problem with that.
Whatever information you want people to have.
Actually, no, that's on the website
Okay.
too. I definitely want to give whereisyourheadandneck.com.
Mm-hmm.
So this is some of the things that we did talk about here on the live, about the tongue on the roof of the mouth, and the sides of the breathing, and having a 30 to 60 second break. If you go into whereisyourheadandneck.com, you're able to receive via email a little, like a 5 simple breathing tips, to try to help with chronic head and neck pain. But that can be utilized pretty much for anything. So, and it's what you and I went over.
Yeah.
So if you feel free to go on there and download that, and it's just a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper you can print off, and you can hang it on your wall, and just something you can refer back to.
Nice. Well, listen, Karin, thank you so much for coming in and giving us these tools and these techniques, because I really do think it's important, and it's a great additive to like talk therapy. So it's something outside of it, because you work with athletes just as well. So this is a big deal, and many people may not think it is, but it is a big deal. And if you think about even athletes and runners, or and oftentimes basketball players, whatever it is, the reality is that it's all about breath too. Like, you have to, the better you breathe, that can shift and adjust the way you move in a lot of different things. So just keep this in mind. Take that mindful moment out, use some of the techniques, download that fact sheet that she was talking about to kind of help you a little bit more. But this is Marianne and Karin, and we are checking out for today. And tomorrow we'll be back on live with Taja. So, check in, tune in, and this is May Mental Health Awareness Month. Thank you all for joining in. Bye.